Hi and welcome to another MoTeC webinar. My name's Pete Swinney and today's subject is how to set up dual tuning maps in an M1 ECU. This feature allows the customer to configure and switch between two maps inside the ECU. The maps available for switching are fuel, ignition, boost aim, throttle translation and engine speed limit. There is an A and a B map for each of these tables, and when switching the engine mode switch that we'll configure shortly, switches from the A to the B table. You can wire a switch or a button to do this task, so the switching from A to B can be a momentary via the button. So we need to get the wiring done. First thing to do is find out where you're going to allocate the switch, which voltage resource. Best way to do that is to go to the input output resources page. You can get to that by going to tools, edit input output resources, and you get this page turn up that you see in front of you here. You can see we've highlighted the engine mode switch voltage resource, and hitting the drop down will reveal all the available inputs in this package for you to use. In this case we're going to choose low side ignition 4 and configure that up in our example. So one side of the switch or button will go to low side ignition 4 and the other side will go to a 0 volt. That's connected to pin B15 or B16 on a M130. Alright, and the channel we're switching is called the engine mode switch. Alright, the next task is to go to the worksheet called All Calibrate. You type in engine mode switch and fill out all the parameters to suit. You can toggle on the channels view by pressing Shift C or the little tilde. I'll switch to the software now so you can have a look at this happening live. Okay, so we've got open at the moment a CDU package, and it's connected to a simulator just on the bench next to me, so it's not a running engine. And we're in the efficiency table here. So if we go to Tools, Edit Input Output Resources, and we can actually search for the input we're after. So we're going for eng mode. Alright, and that search has revealed our input switch, engine mode switch voltage resource. It's not in use at the moment. Click the drop down and we're going for low side ignition 4. Close. Alright, so this has now allocated that switch to that input. I'll just go back and show you. You can see everything that's allocated in the package. So all the sensors that are brought in the package and where they're allocated. Okay, it's a good single place to have a look at the inputs and outputs and where they're allocated. The other nice feature here, if we go to Help, Package Wiring, this is actually continuously updated as you add and subtract sensors. So if we look down here, we will find that the engine mode switch voltage channel is now allocated to pin A6 on low side ignition 4 input. So now we can go into the wiring and connect our switch or button between A6 and the 0 volt, which is B15 or B16. Okay. Right, now for the setup. Let's go to All Calibrate. And there's lots and lots of channels for you to choose from, and we could find them by going down through the tree here, but again the easiest way to find it is to type in what you're after. Eng mode, just the first few letters of each word is all you need, and we can see here now we've got engine mode switch and all the setup and diagnostics associated with that input. So let's check the resource. Here it is, low side ignition 4. So you can come in here and allocate the resource as well if you like. Alright. Now because the ECU hasn't been reset since we set that resource up, nothing's showing up. Easiest way to reset the ECU, and you can see this is a major reset. There's a little flag here. There's also a little diamond here that says we need to save it. So we just press Control S. The ECU is going to save this and tell us we need a reset, which we'll do. Alright, and now we can see the live voltage readings on the input. So this is the engine mode switch voltage, and it's currently at 10.3, 10.4. That's the absolute voltage. We can filter it, and we can put on the low and high diagnostic levels here if we wish. Probably might lift this one to 16 volts just in case the engine overcharges or something happens. and that one's sitting at 0, shouldn't get below that. Alright, there's a hysteresis value, and the threshold at the moment is 3 volts. So what that means is when we switch this, we need it to go below 3 volts by half a volt and above 3 volts by half a volt for it to be considered as switching high or low. At the moment it's considered to be switching on the falling edge. So when it goes from 10 volts through 3 by half a volt, if you can get my drift on that. So let's actually physically flick the switch and see what we get. Alright, so I went from 10 and it's now just sitting down to 0, just slightly above. Alright, so between the halfway point there is actually near enough to 5, so we could actually change the trigger threshold to 5 volts. Okay, Control S to save that. Now we'd also want to see if this is set up correctly, that switch is actually going to go from switch from off to on. So I didn't see that when I looked last time, so let's have a look. Alright, so you can see that switching on and off as I turn the switch on and off. And you can also see the mode going from A to B. Okay. Now, if we don't want to see all those channels, and sometimes you've got lots and lots of channels there and they're sort of stopping you looking for a parameter to set up. If we just click that, and you can see they're all gone. So if you get somewhere and you can't see the live channels, try clicking here and they're going to turn up. Alright, now the shortcut for that is also Shift C. Alright, sometimes you can't see this in the particular window you're in. Alright, so we can see the switches going on and off, and we can see the voltage going up and down. Now all we need to do is set up each map. So we've got ignition here, and this is the ignition throttle position, and you can see this is throttle by engine speed. Let me just make it simpler. We'll just do with 1. Here's the G. If you're pressing G, you'll get from each view toggling around. So that's the graph and the table view, then just the table view, and then just the graph view. Maybe we'll leave it in graph for now. Alright, so this is a little highlighter to say we're in map A at the moment, and this is map A here. If I grab the switch here, which is just a piece of wire in reality, then we can see we're off to B. Alright, and we have a look at B, it's an entirely different map. Open the switch, it's back to A. Close the switch, engine mode on, goes to B. Alright, so as you toggle the switch, you get to select a different map. This is the map being used live at the moment. Change the switch, this is the map being used now. Alright, so it's a matter of going through and configuring each map, changing each map to be what you want. So there's ignition, A and B for ignition inlet manifold. So this is an inlet manifold manifold pressure versus engine speed map. This is a throttle position versus engine speed map. And then each of those has an A and B map. Here's the inlet manifold 1, A and B. And we have a fuel aim, A and B. Fuel aim is actually a little bit different. It doesn't have an A and B as such. It has 2 separate maps. And a good thing to note at this point is that the quick lambda function, lambda was function, will always only use the A map. Okay, so that's just one thing to be aware of in this particular with this particular feature. Just because of the way it works inside, we can only get the quick lambda and lambda was functions to work off map A. Otherwise, if you switch, if we'll go to the example, say 200 kPa at 5,000 revs, the aim lambda is 0.88, and when you switch the mode, you will go to the second map, and at 200 kPa at 5,000 revs, we can make this 0.90, and the engine will change by 0.02 at that point. The M1, unlike the M800, uses the fuel aim, which is the lambda table, to decide on the pulse width of the injector. The M800 doesn't use it as part of the calculation, but the M1 does. So a little bit of tuning help on the way here. If you change any of these table numbers, then expect the tune to change. Alright, so we've got fuel, aim and ignition covered. We've got boost. So we've got two boost aim maps, an A and a B, same thing. RPM limit or engine speed limit. There are lots of engine speed limits in the M1, different limits for different types of alarm conditions. The main one that most people are interested in is the engine speed limit maximum. Alright, so we go from A to B, again two different engine speed limits. We'll go back to all calibrate and type in throttle translation. Throttle lever translation. Here's the table, and again you've got an A and a B curve if you like. Alright, so when on A, I'll make the switch change again so you can watch the arrow go up. Alright, A to B. So whichever way the engine motor switch is triggered will depend which map is used. Get the idea? So that's basically it. Not too hard to configure. Alright. The main thing is to make sure that you've got all the tables filled out. It's no use just filling out the ignition table and switching to the B map and finding your fuel aim is all different. So all of the tables are used when you switched to the B map. So go through and check them and carefully test. Other than that, that's all you need to do. Thanks for watching. More information can be found either on our forum or by viewing other webinars available through our website. There's further M1 webinars happening all the time, so keep an eye out. Thanks for listening.